We go.
Great. Hi, everyone. So, my name is Neysa Garcia Mohammed, and I'm a transformational coach. I got into coaching because of my first business. In 2021, I started my production company with Ginger and Care Productions, and my husband and I operate that together. And I started that because I wanted to make a big dream of mine come true, which was to live a creative life. I wanted to be paid to do things that I loved. And it felt really simple at the time. It felt like, okay, I did the corporate thing. I wasn't happy there. Let's try something else. Simple enough. And what I learned just exposed me to so much more about myself and the world, meaning that I found it very, very difficult to ask for money. I found it very, very difficult to find leads. And it's not because they weren't out there. Just about everyone and their grandmother, business or not, wants content. So it's like, why is that difficult? And I looked back at older patterns and realized that there wasn't really a time in my life where I felt safe with money. There wasn't really a time in my life where I felt like I was good with money. And all of my money decisions up until that point was really about making other people happy and making other people proud or checking a box or looking like I was doing the right thing. And when I examined even my relationship with my parents, which is a pretty complicated story, all I ever wanted to do was to be good, like literally to be a good girl, to be a good kid, because that was the only way to get their affection at all. The only way is if I was good. And so I brought that dynamic into my adulthood, into my work, into my business. And when you're at work, those dynamics can play out and bring you some success, right? You're a go along to get along person. People liked working with me. When you go into business for yourself, though, those dynamics suddenly become very apparent, very impactful. And when you don't know that that's what's going on, it feels like nothing that anyone can say will be enough. It feels like no resource, no tactic is enough because underneath that is this dynamic that continues to perpetuate, continues to repeat. And I didn't know where it was coming from. So I went on a self love journey. I went on a money healing journey. I was like reverse engineering anything that I had overcome and looked back and I asked myself, how did I overcome this challenge? And it almost always started with more compassion and more love and just kind of like a surrender. So I did the same thing with money. And that's how I started coaching. I started creating content. I started having conversations with people. I started asking, like, am I the only one going through this? Am I the only one completely outsourcing my power and authority, completely putting my position to others when there is an inner knowing within me and I'm ignoring that and saying, well, what do I know? That was literally the message. And I wasn't the only one. And that's how I got into this work. And so when I looked back at some of those milestones, when I looked back at how I shifted my dynamic with money, my dynamic with myself and others that I work with, that money is a part of our relationship in some capacity, it has dramatically, dramatically changed. The biggest thing that I never thought would happen, and this is something 21-year-old me would kill for, is I used to take everything so personally. I used to take everything so personal and think, like, oh my God, like, why does everything hurt my feelings on such a profound level? Like, this is not sustainable. And I was like, I guess I'm just sensitive. I guess I'm just that person. When I went on this journey, the added bonus was that I take things way less personal now, way less personal. Like I can run into challenge after challenge and I see it for what it is, which is something, a message, something communicating to me, something that has nothing to do with me, something that has more to do with that other person. And that is something that my younger self would have just, I would have traded anything to have that level of perspective. And so upon reverse engineering this process, I noticed that money isn't the only currency that we're managing. I started to think about the fact that money is an energy. Everyone on this call knows that. Money is absolutely an energy. And if money is an energy, that means it has to flow in and it has to flow out like water. And it means that if it's stagnant, it doesn't harness life. Like life cannot grow and live in stagnant water, and it becomes damaging if it's stagnant. And I started to ask, what other entities in life is that true? Because then that means that it functions a lot like money. And that means that if I wanted to address money, then I had to address all these other areas. So the first thing I addressed was my time. I looked at my attention, I looked at my emotion, and I looked at my energy. Because just like money, these were areas that required a flow, that required me to embark on a self-love journey to have a better relationship with. These were all currencies that also subscribed to the lie of scarcity. And recently I was actually reading like a little audio program, like, you know, some of those like older thought leaders used to put out seminars and that's what they would call it. Now we understand it as like an online course, but before that they were just putting out these DVDs and these CDs, and that was like the online course of that time. And Lynn Twist, I was listening to her seminar. I got it at the library, and she literally said that she learned back in the 70s through another mentor that we're in a new paradigm. We're in a new paradigm where there is enough, more than enough, for every single human being on the planet because of the technologies that we have, because of the resources that we have. That wasn't true for our ancestors. And it'll take us about 50 to 100 years as a population to wake up and realize, oh, because right now we have policies and systems that operate under the old paradigm, which is that there actually isn't enough and we got to stick together because we would hate to lose what we have. Now we know that there's more than enough, and some experts say more than enough for all of us to happily be billionaires. So, what does that mean? That means that we have a distribution problem. We don't have a enoughness problem. And so I had to look at where I was believing this lie, where I was making decisions as if this lie were true, and how to make that shift. So, on this call today, I'm going to talk through the specifics about these 5 currencies. And I'm also going to take away like one tangible thing that you all can do right now that will change the way you interact with your money, that will change the way you feel about your money for good. Um, so that's what we're here to do today. So I'm just going to pause here, and I start every engagement with a grounding exercise because I feel like when we get on any interaction, we're coming in from another interaction. We're coming in, maybe we were just getting ready for school or get winding down from our day, and we come in with all of these thoughts and distractions. And I like to kick off a lot of these deeper conversations with an exercise to be super present in this moment so that we hear exactly what we need to hear because we're here for a reason. So we'll do a quick grounding exercise. This is something that anyone can do for any moment, but you just put your hand over your heart, and all you have to do is notice your breathing. That is literally all you have to do. And give yourself attention, like honest attention. And you can notice what's happening in your body now that you're giving yourself attention. We know this in physics, biology, that our cells change upon observation. We know that on a microscopic atomic level, things operate totally differently when we are looking at it. And so, one of the most powerful things you could do is give yourself attention and notice what's changed now that you are giving yourself this attention. All of a sudden, you feel the weight, maybe the pressure or the tightness of your clothes that you're wearing. Maybe you notice the temperature in the room. Maybe you notice background noises. Maybe it's really quiet where you are outside of my voice. I notice that whenever I do this, everything just seems to slow down. It's almost like I'm creating time out of thin air. Great. So let's get started. So, what all of these currencies have in common is that they're not meant to be stagnant. They must flow in and out of our experience. When they are stagnant, they are harmful. They must be thoughtfully and intentionally stewarded by us. And that creates alignment for us. And the last thing is a little bit more of an obvious one, but they have a profound impact on us. And that's why it requires our intentionality. So let's talk about energy. I view energy as the capacity that we have for anything. It's your capacity. It could be your physical capacity, it could be your spiritual capacity, and it needs to be stewarded. So, how do you manage your energy? You do this with taking care of your physical body through movement, meditation, through your health and nutrition. That gives you your physical capacity. When your physical capacity is expanded, it actually expands your intuition. Your intuition is literally body intelligence. And your body knows without justification, without needing a reason, without needing to be explained. It just knows. And what I love about taking care of your physical energy with that intention in mind is that it really allows you, it's the motivation to take care of your body like you never had before. It's like aesthetics isn't enough, feeling good isn't even enough, but when you realize that it's your literal portal to your inner knowing, like something about that for me, I'm like, ever since I sunk that in, like I never missed a workout. I never missed a walk because I understood that there was a greater thing here with my physical energy. Meditation is another really big one. And the thing with meditation and how it expands your energy is that it's not about being perfect and being perfectly still and being perfectly wise. But it is this amazing opportunity to recharge that battery. There is so much stimulus going on with our phone, with our screens, with emails, with meetings. And when you hit the pause button, you recharge your physical, spiritual, your mental battery. And from that place, imagine the decisions that you get to make. Imagine the way that you treat yourself and you treat others. The thing about energy is that we can feel each other's energy. We can feel that because we're all intuitive beings, whether you're tapped in or not. We can feel that. Your clients can feel that. Your team can feel that energy. So, managing your energy and making sure that you're charging that battery, even if it's in a little moment because you stretched while you were waiting on the train to show up, that is something that can just take you so, so, so far. So, your energy is definitely one. That's the first thing, and that is the first place to solving any problem is what is going on with my energy? How much energy do I have? Understanding what drains your energy compared to understanding what fuels your energy. That information about yourself is possibly more important than your name. Because when you're doing things that drain you consistently, we know what happens. You know what you're like when you've got nothing for anybody. And you know what you're like when your capacity is completely full. The next one is emotions. I love emotions because everyone treats emotions like children, seen and not heard. Shush, don't embarrass me. Like, right? Like, that's how we treat our emotions. And your emotions are just there to tell you something that you need to hear. Your emotions are little messengers. And so I see this as a really important currency. Your emotions also do one thing and one thing only, and they are in and out. They're in and they're out. All of them, the good ones, the heavy ones, the lighter ones, they will leave. They're not meant to stay. They're here for a good time, not a long time. But when we don't allow that movement and they stay trapped in the body, number one, they drain our energy. And number two, it creates dis-ease. And I'm really intentional with how I like use that word because I'm not a doctor, but it makes you very physically uncomfortable and it can manifest in illness. Let the emotions come, deliver the information, and go. Maybe it's that a boundary was crossed. Maybe it's that you're out of alignment right now. Maybe it's just that you're a human being and this is the experience of being a human being, and that's okay. Sometimes it's that you're like, this is it. This is what I need to be doing. When you pay attention to even the lighter feelings like joy and satisfaction and peace, and it's showing up to say, we like this. This is your talent. This is your gift. That is powerful information. So treat your emotion as much as we treat money, right? That's why I include it as a currency. The next one is attention. Attention, we started this engagement with giving ourselves attention. It is the most profound resource and currency that we have. I think attention is more powerful than money. And we've seen examples of that, right? Like in the context of the patriarchy, we're fighting for attention. In the context of our business, we're asking people to pay attention to us, right? That is a currency in and of itself. So with attention, The best thing to do here is to take inventory of where your attention is going. Because what we do with our attention, it would be like walking down the street with like a wad of cash and just throwing the cash in the air. And then being like, I thought I had $100. I have like $2 in my wallet. And I started with 100. Attention is kind of like that. It's like, be really thoughtful about what you're giving your attention to and what deserves your attention, what warrants your attention. And this is where boundaries come in. This is where boundaries is going to be your friend, because attention is this unbelievable resource that just its presence changes what's happening, right? So when you put your attention on money, for example, it grows. When you put your attention on your relationships, it grows deeper. When you put your attention on your work, you become more masterful. Attention is so, so powerful. But if we're giving our attention away where it is just not needed, it's not even like anything particularly bad, it's just not needed. We don't have the attention to put it towards things that we want. And that transitions to time. Time is the big one, right? Everybody says, I don't have time. I just wish I had more time, right? I always say there's a buyer and a critic at every price point, even free. How can somebody say no to free? They don't have the time, right? I don't have the time to commit to this change that I said that I wanted. I don't have the time to be the person that I want to be, even though I know that that's who I need to be. That's a prioritization issue. People also make this mistake where they equate time to money. Time is not money. Time is time. Money is money. Money is an infinite energy. Infinite, like creativity. There's no limit on money. Time is a construct. And it's a construct so that we can take our very limited mental capacity as humans, because we have a very limited mental capacity compared to all that there is. And it helps us to measure things. It helps us to measure change. It helps us to measure our emotional state. It helps us to understand what has happened. So it gives us a framework to track change. That's what it is. That is fundamentally not money, right? That's just our way of wrapping our minds around our experience. So for the ones who really want to disengage in this current society, time isn't even real. Like if I say meet me at 5, you're showing up at 5:30, another person showing up at 4:30, is time even real? And we all think we're right? It's just our way to measure change. So what does that mean? That means that how we manage our time is through what is a priority for us, because we're defining it on our own. As people, as individuals, we all do this. So what is our priority? It's prioritization. Back again with boundaries. What is important to me? If you are waiting on someone for a meeting and you're thinking, I could have been hanging out with my kids today, that means that your kids should have been the priority over the meeting in the first place. If you are waiting on your friend to come for dinner and you're just like, she's late, but that's great because I get to watch the sunset until she gets here, or I get to find extra time to find a parking spot, or I get to have one glass of wine and kind of debrief from the day before she gets here. That means that you are exactly where you want to be. It's your priority to be there. As soon as you feel pulled in another direction, that means you're not where you want to be. Just on a basic, tangible level, when you operate in that place of everywhere that I am, there is no other place in this world that I would rather be than in this moment, you've mastered time as a resource. You've mastered time as your currency, as your energy. And that is why I include it as a currency. And finally, we can talk about money, right? Managing money, the most important thing you can do are these three things. Unknow societal conditioning on what success is. Completely divorce yourself from societal conditioning, family, friends, school, religious institutions, men, all the powers that be, and forget about everything they told you about what success was supposed to be. You're going to find that just about everything you were told is just not aligned with you. That's what you'll find. Unknowing the stories about who you are or anybody like you. That's another big lie, right? You can only do this much. You can only ask for this much. You can only say these kinds of things. You can only want these kinds of things. Completely divorce yourself from any story about who you are. And lastly, stewarding money and how it serves you and reflects your values today. Excuse me. Stewarding money in such a way that reflects your values today. A perfect example of this, so simple, so mundane example, is my living situation. I live in Venice, California, arguably one of the most expensive places you can live on this planet, besides maybe London or New York, like or San Francisco, just flat out. It's expensive. But I'm here because this is a reflection of my values. I'm here because the people that I have access to are a reflection of my values. The terrain, the weather, the energy, the inexplainable and the explainable are a reflection of my values. That's why I'm here. If I were to take the financial advice of the powers that be, I would be in Stone Mountain, Georgia, with an affordable 5-bedroom house with multiple children running around, a lawn that harbors no life, talking about, well, I've saved for retirement. That's what I'm told is a good financial decision. But when I unknow the story about who I'm supposed to be, a Black woman living in America, when I unknow the story about what I'm told success is, a white picket fence, a house, kids, 2 dogs, and a neighbor that I pretend to like, my life looks very different than that. Very different than that. So, how would your life be different? How would your business be different if you stripped away the story that doesn't even belong to you about who you are and what success is to you? That is something to think about, probably till you die, right? So I'm going to pause here. I want to read comments. I think there was a comment and just make sure I'm not missing anything. Amazing. Sometimes I find it hard to remember there is a space for everyone. Absolutely. It's a practice. It is absolutely a practice. I almost set myself little challenges to get things done in a certain time, almost like a game. That's fun. I love that because it's your resource to manage. Like it's yours. That's so fun. Like that's what I love about this work is that we literally get to promote ourselves. I talk about this all the time. Like, we want promotions, right? Promote yourself as your boss. Because even though we're in business for ourselves, sometimes we operate like there's another boss in the room. Like, we're doing things like someone else is telling us it should be like this. You are the boss. This is your promotion. You get to make the rules. And that's why this framework is such a beautiful way to look at what game are we playing? And is it the game I want to be playing? And is it a reflection of who I am authentically? Like, we show up in this world fully whole and fully defined. Just because I don't speak the language at age 1 doesn't mean I'm not a fully whole and defined person. I'm already here. You don't have to carve and chip away at anybody. They're already fully who they are. And all we learn is how to make other people happy because we recognize that we kind of interdependent. And somewhere along the line, we can get lost and forget who we are and forget that we already showed up fully whole. And imagine what that looks like when you want to create something as big, as magical as a business, even if it's just you in that business. Imagine going into an endeavor such as that, forgetting who you are. Like, that is literally, if I could summarize the problem that I solved, it's that. It's helping people remember who they really are. So let's talk about what you can do right now to completely shift, to completely change how you interact with these resources and with these currencies. And this is what I call creating a money ritual, right? This is a practice that you do daily, could be weekly, could be monthly, whatever cadence you decide. And this is how you nurture your relationship with money. Money is an entity. It is an energy. It is life-giving. And any relationship requires intention. Like, if you think about a partnership, you have dates, you have like a date night, you have a routine, maybe talk a certain amount of times. Like, there's things that you do to keep the relationship going. And if you stop doing those things, you look up one day and you're like, there's a stranger in my house. We don't even know each other. And then you fall apart and you break up. We don't want to do that with money. We're in a relationship with money forever. And we want this relationship to be fun and vibrant and intimate and trusting and safe, just like our best relationship. And that's what this ritual allows us to do. And the reason why I use this language is because when I think I'm going to manage my money, it feels not relationship-y. It feels like all these other things we try to manage, right? It feels like we're trying to manage the time, we're trying to manage our emotions and telling them to quiet down. Like, it feels like all those things. But when we treat it like a relationship that we view like a partnership or a deep, deep, intimate friendship, it's like all of a sudden you're invested in that process. You're like, oh my God, I want a best friend. I want somebody that I can call. I want somebody that I can trust. Like, you're invested in that. So this really helped me because the other language wasn't working for me. So here's what your money ritual needs to provide. The most important information about your money or the process around your money. The most important information, how much of it you have, where it's coming from, how much of it you owe, how much of it you spent, the most pertinent information. That way you're always giving it your attention. It always has space for you, right? How many of us just don't know our numbers? And when somebody just says, know your numbers, you're like, oh, I saw a spreadsheet. Gross. I saw a software I don't like to use. Yikes. But if you look at it as I'm showing up for this entity, for this relationship that I'm very invested in, and I want to know what's going on, just like you would check in on any partner and say, how's your day? What'd you do today? Let me tell you what I did today. Let's connect. That's all we're doing here. So, however you access that pertinent information, that needs to be a part of this ritual. Secondly, your ritual needs to be curated just for you. That means, however you like to show up in this space, do that. For example, I'm a write everything down type of person. So my ritual involves a check-in in a journal where I check in and I ask myself questions, and I have an open head center for anyone who's in human design. I'm always questioning things. So I give myself space for that. I question like things that are going on so that I give space for that. Right. I don't just look at all of my accounts, and I'm asking questions and interacting. I do it in my living room with my blanket. Like that's how I authentically show up. So it could be that you light a candle and do the most if you're that type of person. If you're the type of person who wears makeup indoors when you're going nowhere, it could be pull out stops. If you're the type of person that's like, no, I don't need all of that, do it that way. It's your process. Do it in a way that is very, very natural for you. Forget about what anybody else is saying, because if you do it in a way that's natural for you, you'll always do it. If you try to force yourself to do it at 5 a.m. after an ice plunge, but you've never even swam in the ocean outside of June and July, like that's not going to work for you. Right. So this is not about impressing anybody. This is not about, atomic habits. Like this is about you and this relationship and this like sacred relationship that you have with one of the most important currencies in your life. So it's not about anybody else. Next is that you need to leave feeling satisfied. How can you do that? You can literally do that by having a snack while you're doing your money ritual. You can do that by doing it a certain time of day. You can do it by having a certain music being played in the background, or doing it before or after another something that you do every day that leaves you feeling good, right? So this is where you get to be really creative and have fun. I like to do this along with my partner, right? We do it together. That anything we do together leaves me feeling very, very happy and fulfilled, right? So we do it together. You could do it with your best friend. You could have it in your living room. You could have a glass of wine. You could make it a party. Like, what makes you feel filled up? And how can you create that feeling in this practice? You'll never miss it. You'll look forward to it if it's satisfying, right? We look forward to every meal because we're satisfied after. If we didn't have to eat for survival, I'd probably eat every day still because it makes me feel satisfied. That's a really powerful feeling, and like use that to your advantage. Lastly, your money ritual needs to be simple. Simple, easy. It does not have to be. And now I'm a day trader and I'm trading options every morning at 6:30 a.m. No, it could be 5 minutes, right? Your attention, we talked about how powerful your attention is. We talked about how getting to know you is the most powerful thing that you can do. Unknowing the story about what people told about you is a powerful thing. So, with that, now that we're connected a little bit more with who we are, now that we're connected a little bit more with who we're not, what is the simplest way to get the most pertinent information about your money and where it's coming from and where it's going and how it's showing up? And how can you create this beautiful, juicy, fulfilling, satisfying container to execute that practice. Whatever works. And I can promise you, this works. This will have you opening letters that you used to take weeks to open. This will have you looking forward to the mail. This will have you looking forward to looking at your bank account. It will completely rewire your brain to change your associations with these numbers. So that is what you can do. This is something I do weekly. There's little things that I do daily. You can spread it out. Maybe on like once a week, you do one thing. Once a day, you do another thing. It's a ritual. You decide how often. You decide what happens at each piece. You decide everything, right? What matters is that you can stick to it. That's what matters, because where your attention goes, it grows. Like, I hate how cliche that sounds, but cliches are true. So that's what I have for you guys today. I know we're leaving a little bit of time for questions. I'm reading the comments. Yes, absolutely. It absolutely takes time. It absolutely takes time. It's interesting the word should. This comment says, I'm a bit too OCD with knowing my numbers. Sometimes I wonder if I should relax a bit. Should is an interesting thing. I don't like to should over anyone or should over myself. I should relax, right? If you look at the OCD energy, the anxiety, if you look at that emotion as the messenger we talked about that emotions are, it's like, what is this telling us? Anxiety has a message for us and be like, oh, I see your message. Let me read it. Let me see what it says. And think about that and listen to that message and address it. Like, think about your emotions as like a council, and you're the queen in your own mind, and they're like submitting topics that they want to talk about in this council meeting. And you're like, and imagine if you're not addressing the issues of the people and what's going to happen. They're going to riot. like like that's what your emotions do. So address that, right? And when you address that, you will relax. That is the byproduct. It's not the tactical how. It is the result of what happens when you address what that feeling is trying to tell you. Great. So I'll open it up for questions.
I don't actually have any questions right now. I've just got lots of notes. So I'm more of a reflector. I'll go away and reflect on what's been said. I'm always like that, but I just wanted to say, honestly, I've loved this session so much. I've took so much value from it. And I think tomorrow I was already going to take myself into a co-working space to get some work done. And I feel like I might even try and start my money ritual there whilst having a coffee. So yeah.
Yay. That sounds so great. That's like a perfect thing. It's like making it a coffee shop date. That's
Yeah.
like so cute.
I feel like I like romanticizing things. So when you were talking about like what's going to feel satisfying, I think for me, like romanticizing the exercise is going to make me do it more. I always find that with any like admin work that I don't want to do, if I romanticize it, I'll get it done. So
Ah, yay. That's such a good idea. I love that.
thank you.
Love that. Wonderful. These are great comments too. I love that. I love that, like, I love the intimate group.
I know that a lot of the girls will be catching up because obviously it's evening here, so it's nearly 8 o'clock. So they will be catching up. So what I'll do is I'll make sure Emily like links all of your socials and everything. And I guess if they have any questions, are they okay to drop you a DM or something like
Absolutely. I'm a voice message girly.
that?
So definitely, I just feel like I have to say that because a lot of people don't utilize that a lot. Like, so send me messages.
Yeah,
And I'm in California, so like you're not bothering me. I'm in a
amazing.
completely different time zone.
Amazing. Well, I'll definitely make sure Emily, uploads your socials and everything so people can get in touch. But thank you so, so much. We really appreciate you being here. It was amazing, and I'm sure Sam agrees as well. I could see her nodding along.
Yay. It was so great to meet you guys. I'm so appreciative for being here.
Amazing. I'll stop the recording now. Just bear with me a second.